I walked into what I thought was a 2:45 p.m. vendor risk review on the 27th floor of Northbridge Capital, ready to talk logistics compliance and procurement gaps. The door was already open, which was odd. I stepped inside and stopped cold. Kayla was already seated. So were her parents Renee and Graham, her sister Lena, her brother Ty, and across the table, like a king, sat Victor Ellison, CEO of Northbridge, my wife's boss. Victor had his hand resting on the back of Kayla's chair, not casually, possessively, like it was his spot to claim. She leaned ever so slightly toward him, and she wasn't wearing her wedding ring. My nameplate folder was already on the table, but in front of it was something I hadn't expected. Resignation papers, pre-clipped, pre-labeled, like I was just there to sign and nod politely. Before we go any further, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. Graham cleared his throat, always the faux gentleman, and called it a family business alignment meeting. He started talking about transitions, dignity and change, legacy planning, like I wasn't standing right there, watching my marriage get negotiated like some expiring lease. "Shouldn't HR be in here for this?" I asked. Renee smiled, that fake syrupy smile she uses when she's about to drop poison. "Oh, honey, be reasonable. Grown men don't make a scene when two people find a real connection. Like my wife sleeping with her CEO was a Nicholas Sparks plot. Like I was the obstacle to some glorious love story." Victor tried to keep it clean. "This isn't personal, it's an evolution," he said, like he was above the mess he'd made. Kayla couldn't even meet my eyes. Not once. My legs felt like metal rods, but I didn't sit. I pulled my phone from my pocket and snapped 3 photos. The papers, the people, and the way Victor's Mont Blanc pen was already resting on my severance page. Then I leaned over the table and looked right at Victor. "Section 10.4 of your own ethics policy," I said. "Supervisor relationships and conflicts. I helped draft the original language at my last firm. I know exactly how this plays out, on paper." Victor's jaw tensed. Graham shifted in his seat like someone bumped the script. I didn't wait for a reply. I backed out of that room, phone in hand, every inch of me burning, and hit the elevator like I was leaving a funeral with the body still breathing inside. I didn't even think about going back to my office. I walked straight out of Northbridge, crossed over 2 avenues, and ducked into a tiny coffee shop with bad Wi-Fi and decent cover. Place was called Carter Bean, 3 blocks south, off 6th. Noah was already at a back table with a laptop open and a sweatshirt half-zipped like he'd been trying to blend in. 2 years I'd worked with him. Sharp kid, always on time, never asked for anything. But earlier that day he'd pinged me on Signal with just 4 words. "Need to talk off-site." I sat down, and before I could ask anything, he spun the laptop around. Victor's calendar, color-coded and full. But Noah had filtered it down, highlighted events marked VIP brief. Next to each he'd typed KE in red. "Kayla Ellison?" I asked flatly. "Kayla Edwards," he corrected, quiet and tense. "Your wife." They started tagging her like an exec, 2 months before her contract even changed. The timestamps lined up with every trip I'd taken for Ridgeline Logistics, warehouses in Syracuse, port checks in Jersey, all the moments I wasn't home. 11 meetings over 4 months, he added. Always private, always when you were out of town. Then he pulled up another tab. Corporate card logs. Victor's card, ending in 0917. "Client cultivation," he said. That's what he labels it. Le Bernardin, Maria, Carbone, 2 seats. Always 2, no client name. Same nights your wife told you she had late closings. I leaned back, jaw clenched. Noah didn't flinch. "I thought it was a fling," he said. "Office gossip, but it's more. I pulled referral trails." He clicked through another tab. Northbridge referrals. Ones that were supposed to go to our preferred vendor pool. Except they didn't. They landed with Kingsley Harbor Group, Graham's firm. Right around the same time, Kayla started doing consulting for Victor's pet initiative, which was just corporate speak for side deals no one audits. "You've got to be kidding me," I muttered, but I already knew he wasn't. I stared at the screen. My wife and her boss were helping shift internal deals to her dad's company and dressing it up as strategy. Kingsley Harbor wasn't even on the vendor shortlist 6 months ago. "This is kickbacks," Noah said. "This is classic steering." I asked him straight up why he'd risk coming to me with this. A junior guy doesn't put his neck on the line for nothing. "You treated me like a person," he said, eyes steady. "You remembered my kid's name. The rest of them act like I'm a potted plant." Then he closed the laptop and added, "Sir, this isn't just an affair. This is coordinated fraud with romance as a cover story." I took a breath, opened my own laptop, and copied everything. Calendar exports, card statements, referral routing, to an encrypted drive I keep for consulting backups. 20 minutes of silent, methodical dragging and saving. I didn't feel anything yet. I just knew I'd need proof later. My phone buzzed on the table. Renee's name. Third time she'd called this week. I let it ring once, then answered. "Hi, Renee," I said, eyes on Noah. "Everything okay?" "Oh, yes, dear. Just wondering, will you be traveling on the 12th for work?" The 12th. Another Tuesday. I wasn't, but I said, "Not sure yet." "Why?" "Oh, no reason. Just thinking ahead." She hung up with that syrupy tone she uses when she's got a plan tucked behind her teeth. I stared at the black screen for a few seconds, then turned back to Noah and said, "Send me everything again, in separate packets, time-stamped. I'm going to need it organized." He nodded and pulled out a thumb drive. 2 nights later, I showed up at some overpriced Italian spot in Tribeca for a cousin's engagement dinner, Kayla's side. One of those private room deals with tea lights and overplated appetizers. Renee was already working the room like she owned it, air-kissing everyone and calling them darling. Victor strolled in 20 minutes late like he'd been personally summoned. Navy sport coat, no tie, smug as ever. Nobody blinked. People called him Vic like he'd been part of the family for years. I stayed near the back with a drink and pretended to be interested in some framed photo wall of past vacations I was barely in. Then Ty found me. Ty was already buzzed, shirt untucked, second or third bourbon in hand. He leaned close, breath hot with booze, and said, "Look, man, they're handling it, all right? Don't take it personal." I turned and stared at him. What exactly are they handling? He raised his eyebrows like I'd asked something obvious. "You know, the thing. They just want it clean. No mess, no noise." Before I could push, Lena appeared out of nowhere, gripped his elbow like she'd done this 100 times, and said, "Jesus, Ty, stop talking," then yanked him off like she was pulling a sandbag off a sinking boat. I took a sip of wine and slid my hand into my jacket pocket. My phone was already recording. Graham tapped his glass not long after and stood for a toast. "To partnerships that ensure continuity," he said, voice full of fake warmth, but his eyes didn't lie. He looked straight at Kayla, then at Victor, not a flicker of shame between them. People clapped. I smiled, got in the frame for a few photos, kept the recorder running. Later, I stepped out to the balcony for air. Kayla followed. She stood next to me in silence for a second, arms crossed, face lit by the glow of the skyline, like it was all some movie set. "I hope we can stay friends," she said quietly. I didn't answer. She added, "Nothing is being taken from you, Derek. This is just realignment." I turned toward her, slow. "Realignment?" She nodded. "Things evolve." I looked back out over the city. Lights, noise, cold breeze, all of it. I felt like the only guy who didn't get the script in advance. I didn't say anything. I just walked back inside, finished my drink, posed for one last family picture, then got in my truck and drove home. Sat in the driveway for a long time. Smell of old coffee, cracked leather. My phone buzzed twice, Lena and then Renee. I didn't look. All I could hear was Ty, over and over. They're handling it, like I was a liability. I went inside, opened my laptop, and pulled up my old contacts. One name stood out, Carla Ruiz, a forensic accountant a buddy once used during a partnership fallout. I sent her one line. "I think my wife's family is monetizing an affair. I can pull records." Then I hit send. Carla met me the next afternoon in a plain second-floor office above a tire shop in Sunnyside. No receptionist, no Wi-Fi, just 2 metal chairs, a folding table, and a busted AC unit in the window. She wore jeans, a windbreaker, and scribbled on a yellow legal pad like she'd been frozen in 1998. "Let me see what you've got," she said, voice steady, no small talk. I handed her the drive with what I could legally access. Noah's exports, vendor rosters I'd pulled from old consulting jobs, plus public filings from Northbridge and Kingsley Harbor Group. She plugged in, clicked through a few folders, then nodded. "You're going to want to look for 3 things," she said. "Deviations in routing, unexplained premiums, and post-dated approvals. Show me where the paper trail breaks pattern." That night, after Kayla went to bed, I got to work. I waited until I heard the white noise machine in our bedroom click on, then went to the garage and pulled the files I'd stashed behind my old Ridgeline gear. training manuals, onboarding kits, site approvals I'd helped draft. I used my phone camera, slow, steady, no flash. Every doc went into 2 encrypted drives, one for Carla, one for me. A third backup went to Art, old friend, no questions asked, runs a storage unit in Maspeth. I handed it off in a paper grocery bag. By the 5th night, I started seeing patterns. 11 contracts that bypassed the normal bid cycle, 5 marked emergency award, all fast-tracked to Kingsley Harbor Group. Not one of them under 30% margin. Market rate for that scope? They were 28 to 35% over. Carla flagged those instantly. "Someone's eating steak off that markup," she muttered. Then the tags started showing up. KE and metadata on Victor's email headers. 3 of them, all attached to vendor introductions, sent the same week Kayla told me she was traveling for training. 2 of the days, she came home with swag bags from fake events. I remembered. I bought a whiteboard for the garage and mapped it out. My warehouse visits, Victor's fancy dinner dates, Kayla's training trips, Kingsley's inbound payments. And right there, threading through like a spider vein, were Renee's Sunday call logs. Always the same question. When are you on site next? I stared at the mess and felt sick. Not because I didn't see it coming, but because they'd used my schedule to time it clean. I wasn't just the husband. I was the smokescreen. Carla showed up that Saturday to check the board. She stood there, arms folded, tapping a pen against her thumb. Said nothing for a while. Then finally, "This isn't romance. It's a revenue plan, with you as the cover story." She stepped closer and pointed at 3 printouts. "You need to keep going," she said. "Get me authorizations, approvals, any line item sign-off by Victor or Kayla, anything that touches spend." I nodded. "How far do you want me to go?" "All the way," she said, but quietly. "Paper doesn't lie. Just find the pen that held it." She packed up, gave me a burner number, and told me not to call unless it was critical. I walked her out, locked the garage behind me, and went back in the house like nothing had changed. But something had. Dinner that night was quiet, just me and Kayla at the table. She made grilled salmon like it was any other Tuesday, poured wine, lit a candle. Her performance was clean, practiced. Mine had to be better. I waited until halfway through the meal before I asked, "How was your day?" She smiled like nothing was wrong. "Busy," she said. "Victor might want me to shadow board prep this weekend. Can you cover Sunday brunch with my parents?" "Sure," I said, reaching down to adjust my napkin. Slid my phone underneath and tapped record. Just needed the time stamp. I kept my tone light. "Your mom keeps asking about my travel schedule. Something I should know?" Kayla laughed too quickly. "They just want to make your birthday special. Relax." Relax. Like I wasn't sitting across from a woman who knew exactly when to lie and how long to hold eye contact while doing it. So I started showing up early to Renee's kitchen. Every Sunday, flowers in hand, compliments loaded. Thought I'd lend a hand, I'd say, and she'd light up like I'd offered her front page press. While we chopped onions, she went on and on about Victor. "That man has vision," she said one morning. "Men who see the big picture, they deserve support, loyalty. We need more of that in this world." She said it like a sermon, like she was trying to convert me. Graham didn't bother dressing it up. Over roast beef, he looked me in the eye and said, "Derek, sometimes relationships move markets. That's the real economy. A strong provider knows when to accept an unconventional path for the good of the clan." He carved his meat like we were sealing a contract. I didn't argue, just kept chewing and let the recorder in my jacket do the work. Every word, every phrase, captured. Later that evening, out on their porch, Ty cornered me again. Same guilty look, same heavy breath. "Listen, I didn't know they were going to take it this far." Lena came flying out of the screen door like she'd been waiting. "Ty, stop!" she snapped. Just one look shut him down cold. He backed off without another word, but I caught it, the tension, the fear, the way both of them glanced at the driveway when Victor's car finally rolled up, like they were checking for who was in control. Driving home that night, I felt the kind of tired that settles in your bones. Not sleepy, just done. The type of exhaustion that doesn't dull you, just strips away the noise. When I got home, I sat at the kitchen counter and pulled the files from my phone. I labeled every clip by date, topic, and who slipped up. Renee's sermon, Graham's pitch, Ty's regret, Lena's damage control, all of it. I clicked export, saved the backup, and queued it for Carla. Carla sent me a file marked 009 Munson, pull it apart. I opened it at the dining table with a coffee gone cold and my laptop dimmed to 20% to stay under Kayla's radar. Northbridge's executive card, last four digits 0917, had bled thousands over 11 months. Each charge tagged Deal Nurture. Sounded clean, sounded corporate, but it wasn't. 2 first-class tickets to a cabin retreat in Wyndham, early October. Client engagement, a Cartier appointment labeled Heritage Consult. 2 hours billed on a Thursday. Kayla said she had to go uptown for a lunch thing. A weekend at the Whitby, suite, champagne service, client bonding. No client name attached. But here's what nailed it down. Each one was co-signed by Victor and K.E. I cross-referenced every date with incoming wires to Kingsley Harbor Group. $1.6 million in directed business, 11 deposits, perfectly timed right after those getaways. Matched like teeth on a zipper. I didn't even need a spreadsheet formula. It was obvious to the naked eye. I shot it to Carla. 15 minutes later, she replied, "This is commercial bribery, self-dealing, and straight-up conflict of interest. If Kayla touched any of the intake summaries, she's in this chain." I didn't breathe for a second. Then I dug. 3 memos I'd saved from an old project folder. Vendor evaluations. Kayla's handwriting in the margins. One said fast track with a double underline. Another read, Vic wants this closed. The third had a literal smiley face next to a 110K advisory retainer with 0 scope of work attached. That wasn't admin noise. That was influence. Noah stayed solid. Sent me building access logs late that night. 4 entries over 6 weeks where Victor tagged Kayla as a guest contractor. All after hours. All unregistered with HR. Same nights Renee had surprised us with dessert. Same nights she asked when I'd be flying next. I started pinning everything to the board in the garage. Printouts, screenshots, receipts, red lines connecting dates, charges, signatures. It looked like a crime docu-series on mute. No need for drama. The numbers told the whole story. I worked in silence, just the hum of the fridge behind me. I didn't play music. Didn't need distractions. I wasn't angry anymore. I was surgical. At midnight, I laid it all out across the dining table. Folder by folder, expense tags, email headers, wire confirmations, Kayla's margin notes, Victor's co-signatures, building logs. Every piece lined up like coordinates on a map. I took a photo of the spread, full frame, time-stamped, and saved it to all 3 drives. One in my safe, one with art, one in the cloud under a dead file label I'd buried under fake fishing permits. Then I leaned back in the chair, stared at it all, and said out loud, "Okay then, no shouting, just paperwork." I had just saved the last file when my phone rang. Renee. "Hi, sweetheart," she said. "We'd like to insist on hosting your 57th. Nothing big, just family and a few friends who matter." I leaned back in the chair, let her talk. "And of course," she added, "Victor should be there. Work is family too, right?" I told her I was touched, that I'd be honored, played it warm. After we hung up, I opened a clean sheet on the whiteboard and mapped out what I knew they were planning. Private chat before dessert, big speech about accepting modern love, a group push to get me to step aside gracefully, let Kayla be happy, keep Sunday brunches drama-free. They wanted me to fold and call it maturity. I gave it 24 hours. Then I walked into a plain government office in Lower Manhattan and met an SEC intake officer named Janet Wu. Sharp, blunt. No smiles wasted. I turned over a binder Carla had helped me build. Expense records, visitor logs, email metadata, Kingsley Harbor payments, building access logs, Kayla's notes, Victor's signatures, audio transcripts. Everything was time-stamped. Everything had a source. Janet flipped through the binder fast but focused. "This is structured. This is federal," she said. "You're not filing this as a scorned spouse?" "No," I told her. "I'm filing this as a defrauded stakeholder." She nodded once. "We'll be in touch. Next stop, certified mail." I sent a sealed packet to the board chair of Northbridge Capital. Return receipt. Same binder, same time-stamped evidence. No warning to Victor. Let the board open it cold. Then I met with Mitch Fowler, my attorney since the Ridgeline sale. Smart, calm, charges like he's a heart surgeon. He opened new bank accounts under a trust name, moved my retirement into a protected vehicle, and prepped a divorce filing tied to financial misconduct. I signed it all the same day. "You sure you're ready for this?" he asked, sliding over the folder. "Already late," I said. I went home and built what I called the party envelope. Manila, unmarked. Inside, a printed SEC complaint cover page, screenshots of Victor's 0917 card charges co-signed by Kayla, building logs, and a transcript of Renee calling it all strategic. I added printouts of Kayla's fast-track memo notes and a photo of the whiteboard from my garage. Then I called Cal, old friend, retired NYPD, owns 3 cameras and a steel trap memory. I need one thing, I said. You stand near the bar, aim your phone at the study door, and start recording when I give the signal. He didn't ask questions, just said, make sure your plate is clean. The rest will take care of itself. I clipped the envelope shut, put it in my jacket, and circled the date on my kitchen calendar. This time, I was going to be the one with the script. Renee's house looked like a damn Pottery Barn catalog exploded. Soft jazz humming, candles everywhere, rented stemware sparkling under dimmed pendants. The smell of rosemary and fake sincerity hit you at the door. Victor showed up early, of course, walked straight in and shook Graham's hand like they'd just closed on a stadium. Kayla stood near the kitchen island, laughing too loud at something Lena said. Everyone moved around them like it was a wedding rehearsal, not my birthday. I smiled, said thanks, made a joke about the cheese board, played my part. At exactly 8:20, Renee tapped her spoon against a wine glass and asked for everyone's attention. She gave a short speech about growth, gratitude, and brave hearts who choose happiness. The room chuckled in all the right spots. I watched Kayla glow under the soft lights, proud and polished, like this was just another family milestone. Then came the nudge. Derek, dear, Renee said sweetly. A quick word in the study? I nodded and followed. Inside, it was all of them. Kayla, Graham, Renee, Lena, Ty, and Victor, already standing in a tidy half circle like they'd rehearsed it. The door clicked shut behind me. Felt like a vault closing. Graham started. We believe in being direct, Renee added, and we know you'll handle this with maturity, given the circumstances. Kayla stepped forward a little. We're asking you to be a friend through the transition. There's no need for hostility. Victor looked down at the rug, didn't say a word. I waited a beat, made sure my breathing stayed steady, then said calmly, sure. Renee exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for weeks. Graham patted my shoulder. Kayla gave a relieved little smile, like I'd just agreed to donate a kidney. We walked back to the living room. Cal was already near the bar, phone angled low in his hand, recording. The room was buzzing with chatter and cheap red wine. I stepped forward and raised my glass. Before we cut the cake, I said, I want to toast the people who invested the most in me this year. Heads turned, smiles froze. Kayla looked nervous. I reached into my jacket, pulled out the manila envelope, and handed it to her and Victor. Go ahead, I said. Open it. Victor peeled it open first. His face dropped before he even made it past the first page. Kayla scanned the second sheet, card statements with her co-signatures, and her mouth went slack. Her fingers trembled. I cleared my throat, loud enough for the whole room. This is the formal complaint filed with the SEC at 9:12 a.m. today, I said. It includes internal approvals, expense co-signatures, building logs, and vendor trails. Someone gasped when the words commercial bribery and conflict of interest showed up on the third page with Kingsley Harbor Group printed below. Victor dropped the packet. A few papers slid out across the rug. Renee tried to smile. This must be a misunderstanding. We should talk. I cut her off. For anyone confused, Kayla and her boss rerouted business for money while her family benefited. They told me to be mature and accept it. I accept accountability instead. Victor fumbled for his phone, probably texting legal. Graham's jaw locked like a vice. Ty stepped back and stared at his shoes. Lena actually reached for a chair, looked like she might faint. Renee took a step toward me. Derek, come to the kitchen. Let's talk like family. I shook my head. Family doesn't do this. Then I turned to the guests and raised my voice just enough. Thank you all for celebrating my birthday. Dessert's on me. Out on the sidewalk. Away from this house. Cal got the whole thing. Faces, reactions, the truth, clean and caught. By Monday morning at 8:10, Victor was on leave. Northbridge's board didn't wait for a press cycle. They pulled him cold. By noon, his access was cut and a forensic sweep started in legal, IT, and procurement. At 12:47, I got a text from Noah. It's happening? Carla called me at 1:15. SEC followed up, she said. They're not playing. By 4 p.m., the New York Attorney General's office left a voicemail requesting a sworn statement. I played it twice. then forwarded it to Mitch. He'd already queued up a civil suit, tortious interference and fraud, naming Kingsley Harbor Group as the defendant, Graham as the responsible officer. Complaint was clean, tight, and lined with dates and signatures. That night, Kayla showed up at the house. She had a suitcase in one hand, and tears she kept blinking back, like she wasn't sure when to let them fall. "I just need to explain," she said at the door. I didn't move, just opened it, waved her in, and hit record on the phone in my pocket. She sat on the edge of the couch like a tenant asking for an extension. "It started as mentoring," she said. "Then it got complicated." I said nothing. She fidgeted with the strap of her bag. "There was pressure, okay? My parents were drowning financially. Victor gave me a way to help without selling the house. Still, I didn't speak. Just let her dig. "It wasn't supposed to go this far," she whispered. I didn't think it would all collapse. When she stopped talking, I hit save on the voice memo and stood up. "Our lawyers will handle the rest." She nodded, wiped her cheek with the back of her hand. Mitch filed the divorce paperwork that same night. The settlement tied directly to her conduct, waived any claim to the house, retirement, or joint investments. In exchange, I agreed not to push for personal criminal charges. She signed on Friday. Her hand shook so bad, Mitch had to steady the corner of the page with his finger. Kingsley Harbor lost 2 anchor contracts by the end of the week. I didn't even have to make calls. The complaints moved faster than the market could cover for them. A neighbor told me Graham's Mercedes went up for sale by Monday. A broker listed their lake place in Cold Spring 3 days later. Motivated seller, fast close. Renee's name disappeared from 3 gala lists in the same week. The nonprofits that once chased her checks now left her unread. Victor took a deal not long after. Industry bar, formal restitution, and a plea that spared him prison but killed his career. Last I heard, he was living somewhere upstate, quiet and broke. Kayla moved into a small rental near Lena's condo. No more brunch pics, no rooftop views, no grateful heart quotes with soft filters and staged lighting. I passed her once in the grocery store, hair pulled back, no makeup, same brand of cereal we used to eat together. She didn't say a word, neither did I. I rented a quiet workroom over a muffler shop in Woodside. Bare walls, metal desk, space heater by the door. I didn't need much, just a laptop, a filing cabinet, and peace. I helped small outfits set up compliance, contracts, audit trails, whistleblowing protocols. Nothing fancy, just the kind of paper armor that keeps good people from getting steamrolled. My first client was a family grocer in Elmhurst. Their vendor was slipping in false fees and charging them for freight that never shipped. I flagged it, drafted the exit clause, got them clean. Second client was a roofing company. Foreman had been padding invoices with consulting hours that didn't exist. I caught the trail, laid out the math, and got the owner his $23,000 back. Both clients paid on time. Both shook my hand like it still meant something. People ask if I miss Kayla. Truth? I miss who I thought she was, not who she chose to be. I miss easy Sundays. Eggs, coffee, quiet. Not the Sundays where I was part of somebody else's spreadsheet. Sometimes I drive past Renee and Graham's old place. It's different now. New paint, plastic toys in the yard, swing set with chipped blue rails. A young couple lives there. 2 kids, always barefoot. I don't wish the old crew harm. Life already taught them the bill comes due. I celebrated my 57th with takeout ribs and a cold beer at my kitchen table. 2 neighbors came by. We played cards, swapped bad stories from old jobs, and laughed louder than we should have. I went to bed at 10:30 with a clean mind. No marble floors, no speeches, no one managing me like a PR risk. If there's a lesson in all this, it's not complicated. When folks show you they're willing to trade your dignity for their benefit, believe them. Document everything. Hand the right envelope to the right hands. Then get back to building a life where you can sleep.